What's up guys, hope you all are doing well and welcome back to another Cyberzoic review. Today we will be reviewing the Allosaurus, the Dragonslayer, and Argenteus. The armors for Wave 8 have finally arrived after some revisions have been made to ensure that the armors work well and fit properly onto the figures. And hey, the wait was worth it. It's been a few months, but hey, they're finally here to review. So without further ado, let's dive in. So we're going to take a look at the packaging for the hover tank, also known as the Dragonslayer, and also Argenteus. So I decided I'm not going to show off the packaging for the Allosaurus because I don't have enough space here. But to make up for it, I do have this super cool backdrop that I will show in detail later that I took from it, so yeah. So we are going to start off with the Dragonslayer packaging here. So, if I can get a good angle here. Yeah, there we go. So here's the front of the box. You got Argenteus riding the Allosaurus here, who is all armored up. It says here, for use with 1/18 scale Allosaurus Gemini and Sinai. Now, this is important because the armor, at least the helmet for sure, will not fit onto the Allosaurus fragilis, which is another Allosaurus variant, because the head of the Gemini, is more elongate, and if you tried to put the helmet on the fragilis, it would likely just slide off. So if you have the Allosaurus fragilis figure, which is green if I haven't already mentioned that, the body shape, however, is the exact same, so if the armor would probably fit fine, but just be aware that the helmet will probably not fit unless you really tried, but just wanted to say that. So anyway, as it says here, it's a converting armor, which means that it can be converted into a functional object, such as in this case, a hover tank. And these guys belong in the Technologist clan, hence the logo right there and on the side here, so very cool. On the other side of the box here, you got another image of the artwork, very cool, and you got that really cool window feature as well, so you can see the Dragonslayer on the top. But you can't now because I took it out of the box. And on the back side here, you got Argenteus riding the Dragonslayer, and by the arrows here, could be converted onto the Allosaurus and converted back to its original form. On the bottom left here, you got all the details about the armor, as well as its features, which, if I'm getting on a good angle here, I will leave here in case you want to pause and read it, so yeah. Got the armor specs on the top, action figure features of the Dragonslayer, so really cool. And of course, you got the other two components that complete the set, the Allosaurus and Argenteus, each sold separately, so yeah. An exclusive card inside, which we will get to here in a second. We will talk about the Argenteus packaging next. Alrighty, so here's the packaging for Argenteus, very cool. And as you can see, this thing is standing up on its own because of this little extra piece that's sticking out. So that's a pretty neat feature, I like how they added that. So you got a close-up of Argenteus without the helmet on there. He's the Tech Knight leader of the Technologists. And also notice that the outline of the packaging is an orange-yellowy color, as well as the grid in the background there too, which I think makes the whole thing stand out, which is very cool. And on the back, you got a closer shot of Argenteus riding the Allosaurus, as well as a profile of him. Here is some information, which again I will leave here if you want to read that as well. And of course, you got other products from the line, the Allosaurus with Dragonslayer armor, the Smilodon with the Saber Beast armor, Dragolina, and of course Kirokami the Arctic Dragon, which we already reviewed. So very cool. Now lastly, before we take a look at the figures, we are going to review the cards. So, as you probably saw at the beginning of the video, we have not one, but 3 different cards that I'll be showing you. And I'll start off with Argenteus here. So you have a close-up of him here, as you saw from the packaging, as well as a full body image. You can see him holding this helmet, as well as his swords on his arms, as you can see there too. You also got some information of him as well, and also his ability in the Zoic trading card game, so very cool. On the back, you got the Technologist logo there, also known as the Tech Clan, with that beautiful yellow background. Very cool. Up next, we got the Allosaurus here, without his armor on. He's got a very menacing look, I love it a lot. The coloration, the lighting, the alien-like background. You got the Cyberzoic logo on the bottom there. Very cool. Love the action going on in this picture. On the back, you got a cool shot of the Allosaurus with some foliage back there and logs to match the background, some information about it, and its ability. So, very cool. Finally, we got the Allosaurus armored up with Argenteus riding it. Again, I love the coloration. I love how the armor shines against the lighting and to make it really stand out, especially the yellow and orange translucent parts such as on the helmet of the Allosaurus, and even Argenteus' helmet kind of has a glowing effect too, so that's really cool. On the back, you got Argenteus riding the hover tank, information about the tank such as its components that make it up, and also its ability as well. So very cool. Lastly, for funsies, here's all three of the cards in comparison to show y'all. Very cool. This is their back side, and here's their other side as well, so you can see them in their glory. Very cool. Alrighty, so that is it in terms of the packaging and cards, so without further ado, let's go ahead and review the figures. So let's begin by reviewing the Allosaurus. By the way, this Allosaurus has a name in the Cyberzoic universe, and that's Apollo. I love that name, and I think it suits well for him. So Apollo here, move this out of the way, is a very, very beautiful Allosaurus figure. I love the coloration chosen for him with the neutral, natural coloring. Definitely suited for camouflaging if you ask me. So let's start off with his head here. I focus on the attention to detail here because it is crazy. Isn't that awesome? Love it. And I also love the emphasis on the crest, that chrism red. The flesh inside the mouth kind of reflects that too, as you can see there. The glossiness and the teeth as well are also very well sculpted. I actually like how the teeth are sculpted. They're pretty good. And on this side too. When you close the mouth, can't even see them because dinosaurs had lips. Very cool. So, let me show you the neck now. Sorry, I'm getting used to this still. Bear with me. So some people have actually had an issue with this neck piece in particular, this one right here. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I hope not, because I actually got a replacement for it. It's like right here-ish. So there is like a small tear there. And then I wasn't the only one with this issue. This has actually been an issue for other people who got this figure. So if you do, I don't have the physical broken piece with me, but if you do see a small tear here, just contact the support team and they'll send you a replacement part. They're really good with replacements. If you have any issues with your figures, riders, armors, they will send you a replacement. So let's check out the range of motion for the neck here. So you got some lefts like that, rights, downs, ups like that, and even a 360 degree motion, so you can turn his head like this if you wanted to. I'm not gonna do that though because I'm not that cruel. Very cool. So moving on to the torso, beautiful paint job all around. You got the gray blending, as you can see down here on the belly. Very cool. Move the arms out of the way so you can better see. Actually, all throughout on the head here, down the neck, and even all the way down to the tail. So that's very cool. A lot of browns and some oranges as well, but it's mostly browns. So very cool. The stripe detail. So the long arms here. Really love the articulation on the arms. You get 3 points of articulation. So this joint here, you got this one in the middle, and these as well on the hands. Very cool. So you can pose his arms however you want. You can pose them up like this if you wanted to. Try to do something here. Absolute cinema. If you know, you know. It's a meme. So, very cool. They're long arms, so you can pretty much pose them however you want. You can pose them back here, pose them up here. Pretty much do whatever you want. You can even pose them up like this if you wanted to, like... Alright, whatever. Whoops, I am so sorry. So, on the legs, again, beautiful paint job. Another reminder I will make is that I recommend, actually, you probably should anyway, heat up this figure. In particular, the only part I had to heat up, honestly, was the legs because they are very stiff. And that actually goes for most of, if not all my figures. The legs especially are very hard to pose without heating them up or putting them in hot water for a few seconds. Actually, it probably says on the instructions here. which I'm going to show you real quick. I don't think it does, but essentially, I would heat them up for maybe even like a minute in the water, or use a blow dryer for 30 to 60 seconds. But they will essentially loosen the joints and make them easier to pose. And if you don't heat them up, they will most likely break, because there's a peg in here that'll probably break off. But if that happens to you, again, they'll send you a replacement. So yeah, be careful with that. So very cool. Yeah, everywhere else, however, is pretty easy to pose, not necessarily needed to heat prior. So, oh, also the tail. Now, you will have to heat up the tail, because the tail, it will be hard to put on without the heating it up with a heat hair dryer or water. So yeah, very cool. Now, while we're talking about the legs here, we do have some, get a pose here. We do have 2 pairs of, come on Apollo, work with me, buddy. Now this guy can stand on his own, as you probably saw in the instructions. I left it there if you wanted to pause and read them. This guy can be stood without the base if properly balanced. There we go. I'm just gonna leave it like that for now. Anyway, so we have 2 pairs of feet here. This one is more for like if you want to put his like foot down like that. So very cool. You have 2 pairs of those, so you can do them on his left or right leg. And then you also have these, which are more like stepping forward. So essentially it'll be like this. So you got the back one here, and then like that. So very cool. I'll probably play around with that as I in this video. So very cool. So you actually got 4 points of articulation. This top one up here, this knee one here as well, this ankle piece here, and these just swivel around as well on the other side. Actually, I probably, yeah, sometimes every once in a while you may have to heat up the pieces again, because they will probably stiffen back. But in terms of Apollo here, it looks like that's not really an issue. Just take some elbow grease if anything, but he's working well with me so far. Oh, also with the torso, you got 1 articulation piece here, so you can pretty much like move his whole body one way or the other. Oh, another thing, the tail will most likely pop off pretty easily. Now that's not an issue with just the Allosaurus here. It's actually an issue for most of, if not all, the large theropods, so like the Dryptosaurus. The raptors haven't really been a problem, but I think like Tyrannus, I think, is another one. But essentially the large Tyrannosaurs, I think, I could be wrong, but I think I heard somewhere where the tails will likely pop off easily. So, but they pop on pretty easily actually, just like that. So just be aware of that. It is not, I mean, you could ask for a replacement, but it honestly doesn't bother me. So very cool. So yeah, again, use a hair dryer, hot water, soak it in for about 30 seconds to pop it in there, but you don't even need that for popping it back in a second time. So the tail here has, again, really love this like stripy pattern, very cool. Has 3 points of articulation. 3. You got this like base here. So this piece right here is the only one that's bendable, as you can see with these little holes here. So the whole thing is not bendy wire, which honestly is probably better in favor for me, because it would probably be tough to pose the tail in these like thick areas especially. It's actually hard enough posing this right here. But yeah. So that is pretty much all I have to review for Apollo in his natural form without his armor. Very cool figure. I love him so much. He is my most realistic and probably only Allosaurus figure I have. So I'm very impressed with the attention to detail on this figure, and I am really excited to put the armor on him. So, but until then, we are going to review the Dragonslayer in his hover tank next. Good boy. Hover tank form next, my bad. Alrighty, so here's the Dragonslayer. I have it on a turntable so you can see it in full 360 with Argenteus riding it. And holy moly, this thing looks so sick. The metallic finish on it is outstanding. And what's really cool is that these armor sets actually come with little blast effects, as you can see throughout, that you could just insert into the blasters, which is super cool. And I think that would be cool to try out in like stop motion videos to make a scene look more realistic and action-packed. And I could be wrong, but I think the blasters were actually a last-minute add-on that the team decided to include in the sets. And I'm glad they did because they are really cool. And it gives the armors almost some character, especially in display. If you want to make an action scene on display, the blast effects will definitely help transform the scene to life. And plus they just slide in so you won't have to worry about them breaking inside the blasters there, so very cool. So, bear with me because the hover tank is a little bit fragile. So if it comes apart on me, it comes apart on me. But let's try not to make that happen. So here in the front, you got these large blasters. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take these out. See, they very easily just slide in like this. Hopefully, yeah, like that. So again, we don't have to worry about them breaking off. So these, and I'm going to take these back ones out too. Scooch them over there for now. I will leave these on, these two, because they fit pretty snug in there. And I'll actually take these. No, I'll leave them on for now. So here in the front, you got these large blasters. Now, if you recall from the cards, which I'll actually show you right now, these blasters down here, these bottom blasters, are actually tucked inside the hover tank in the picture. Now, that's an optional feature, as you can see how I have them out. If you want to have them that way or facing out. Personally, I like having them faced out, but honestly, it's up to you, however you want to do it. Now, it doesn't say anywhere on the packaging or online or in the instructions, really, how many points of articulation this hover tank has in this form. But I counted 20, so there could be more, could be less, I'm not sure, but I counted 20 before this video, so. And if you include the little foot pads here, which can be removed, as well as these. So, not a bad amount of articulation if you ask me. So, the majority of the articulation is actually on the front half of the ship here. Mostly the blasters, these pieces here, and the missiles, as well as these here. So, I'm going to start here. You got like good motion there. These actually swivel left to right. Let me take this blaster off actually, so you can see that. Back, forth. This other one's a little harder to move because it's on the top, but yeah. So I'm going to remove these so it'll be easier to, because you know they'll probably fall off unexpectedly. So these parts move as well. Oh, that's coming apart. Just like this. This front piece moves up and down. These actually, the blasters individually move as well, but it takes a little bit of some moving. And of course it comes apart, but you can just put it back in. If I will be able to, come on, there we go. Okay. So, very cool. Yeah, on the sides you got that, the front. And if you look closely, actually right here, you can see the super cool hexagon pattern on it, which is very cool, if the camera will focus. Yeah, there we go. So I think that's a pretty neat feature, and it's only on this translucent part that's there. It's not shown like here or anywhere else, so I think that's a pretty cool addition they added there. So you got these missiles here that move up and down like this. Same thing on the other side. Let's see if I can, there we go. This moves as well. So over here, you got Argenteus riding the hover tank. He's holding the handlebars, as you can see. Safety first. Now, of course, you don't have to have both hands holding the handlebars. You can actually just have one holding the handlebar and the other holding his weapon there, if you want to do that, or even not have both of his hands on the handlebar if you want to go crazy. So as you can see here, his feet are sitting on the foot pads here, which are being connected because he has a little hole under his foot, which I'll show you when we review him. And same thing on the other side. Very cool. So you got these little pieces back here that also move around. They're, my bad. That move around like so. They're a little harder to move because his foot's there. I'm sure there's a better way to move them around like that. Oh yeah, see, this one's on there. You can move them up and down. It's like a ball joint, so you can move them pretty freely. So on the back, you got the jet engines here, which also move up and down. Very cool. Let's see if I can, there we go. On this side too. Again, fragile, so it'll probably come off pretty easily. It's kind of more of a display more than an actual play, but of course you can play with it too. I mean, don't get me wrong. So these also move up and down individually, these back pieces here. Very cool. And let me show you the detail on the bottom. So, whoops-a-daisy. So here's the bottom, and I'll show you exactly where I mean by loose. These two pieces here, this piece here and this piece here, are actually supposed to connect to this and that. And as you can see, they're not, which is why it's a little bit loose. And also, you probably won't be able to tell, but this big piece is supposed to connect to the sides of the hover tank, but yeah. But anyway, very cool detail. These three ridges here, these three ridges actually fit into these little slots here. So they go like this. So the longer piece goes forward and it just goes in like that. But again, I've been having struggles, so I'm not gonna show myself struggling. So it basically just goes on like that, but it'll probably take some getting used to. So, and of course, if you don't want that, you can just set them on the ground like that. Won't do any harm. So this piece just serves to display the hover tank and is not used as a serve any purpose for the configuration of the armor onto the Allosaurus, as well as this black piece right here. They mainly serve just to display the hover tank. And actually, there's another piece. The foot pegs, these don't serve a purpose either, as well as these, where these pieces, which are actually the helmet to the Allosaurus. Let me see if again. These don't have any purpose either, so yeah. So yeah, they mainly just serve to help display the hover tank, which is really cool. And again, optional if you want them to display them like that, floating, or if you just want them on the ground. But personally, I think you should display it like this because it's called a hover tank, not a ground tank, not a regular tank. But yeah, very cool. I really love this thing. It's very complex, and I've actually transformed it onto the Allosaurus already, back to its original form. It was a bit of a pain, but it was my first time doing it, and you may end up struggling just like I did, unless you have beginner's luck. That's a thing. And actually, I ended up breaking a piece off. This piece, this back piece right here, I actually ended up breaking off both handle pieces, which actually is a very good example on why you need to heat the parts, because this could happen. And especially, let me see if I can find them. Here we go. Especially these guys, because of how narrow, especially these little parts are here, they will break off if you do not heat them. So I'd say be very careful, because that'll happen. But if it happens to you, again, you could always contact the support team for a replacement, and they'll send you a new one. So yeah, that just goes to show that you have to heat up the pieces. It's very mandatory, so you don't break anything. And because of how small they are, and how prone they are to breaking off. So that's pretty much all I have to say for the hover tank. Again, it's a very complex build, and I'm afraid, but also not afraid, because these armors are really cool, that this may become a trend for the Tech Clan, because from what I've seen, there's actually two more, if I can recall, Tech Clan sets that are currently from the first Kickstarter. I'm sure there will definitely be more in the future, but there are two more that will be coming soon, very, very soon. and we'll probably have a complex build like this. So, but other than that, it is still very cool, super worth it, and even more worth it to display it. So, very cool. Now, as cool as it looks in this form, very neat, I still really like it how it looks on the Allosaurus. So, very cool. But before we get to that, we're going to go ahead and talk about Argenteus next. Actually, before we do, I'm going to show off the instructions here, and I'm actually going to split the video to do that because these instructions are huge that they'll fit at the screen, and I need to move the Dragonslayer out of the way for that. So, be right back. Alright, so I'm going to show you the instructions and try to figure out a good way to show you. Actually, I'll probably just do this. It's pretty big, so yeah, it literally takes up the whole screen. But still very cool. Now, there is a lot of instructions, I know. There's actually a backside too, but the backside is actually just the other conversion. There's a total of what, 34? Whatever that was, 31 is. Steps, but it looks complicated. It may look complicated, but it's actually pretty straightforward. Especially, now what I did, I watched the review video for this set that was posted on the Creative Beast page on YouTube. I watched that along with looking through these instructions, and I actually noticed, and I'm glad I did, because there's actually a few changes to these instructions that probably would have stumped me in converting the armor. One of them is this right here, step 14, and that is basically these little circular pieces connect to these little pieces here. On the Dragonslayer, if you can see, they are not connected. So in case you notice that when trying to convert the armor, just know that they're not connected. So, yeah. Just a little minor thing I wanted to point out there, but, and funny, it wasn't until just now, I literally just now figured it out, that there was a backside. So, this is from the Dragonslayer onto the Allosaurus. The other side is the other way around, from the Allosaurus, right there, to the Dragonslayer. And again, you can see the blasters there tucked in. And actually, if you see right there, I just now figured this out too. So if you recall from a few minutes ago how these blasters go in like this, you can actually swap them for the jet blasters like that. So that's very cool. Now, unfortunately, these blasters here on the bottom, they won't fit. They won't fit, unfortunately, inside because it's too thick. I wonder, that might have been another error or something in that, but just wanted to point that out, that you can configure the blasters, and you can also do the same with the jets as well, kind of like that. So, very cool. I like how you can do that. Of course, again, there's a little bit of some limit there, but still, you got that as an option. So, very cool. So, let's show off this side first. So, yeah. There we go. Again, these steps are pretty straightforward. Again, if you want to watch the video that Chris Chaotic did on this set as well, you can do that. I personally think it's easier and more convenient, but if you want to follow the instructions too, that's why they're there. And actually, you can use this as a poster too. You can frame it if you want. So that way you can remember it forever and ever. And then on the bottom here, a little spoiler alert, but that's okay. You can actually like change where you want to put the weapons and stuff there, which is really cool. And that's the finishing product. Configurations, again, configurations, there's some parts there, and just some other, here's where, like, these are the foot pegs. They don't really serve a purpose. You can just store them inside the Dragonslayer, which I think is pretty cool. And where else? Yeah, these pieces don't serve a purpose either. So yeah, very cool. On there, oh yeah, also helmet pieces you saw earlier on the Dragonslayer. Those pieces back there, if the camera's getting it, yeah. So here's the other side, very cool. So yeah, it wasn't until, again, literally just now that I figured out this side existed for some reason. So when I was converting the armor from the Allosaurus to the Dragonslayer, I was having a hard time because I was just following the video as opposed to looking at the instructions myself to where I would have better access, but still very cool. So again, straightforward steps. If you do have trouble, again, always contact the support team or watch the videos. I think they help a lot. So, very cool. Alternate configurations. And as you can see, I wonder, yeah. Oh, that's cool. You can put the handles on these as well. The little handle pieces can go like right there too. I didn't know that. It's cool. I'm learning new things about this set every time I look at it. So yeah, very cool. That's assembling the helmet and all that. Yeah, actually the helmet, as you already saw like a million times already, it's in 2 pieces, so you just like connect it onto the Allosaurus, which I will talk about more in depth once we actually get to the configured Allosaurus with the armor on him. So very cool. So yeah, again, it's big, but just to show you in comparison, this is the Allosaurus instructions. But still very cool. I'm glad they gave us these instructions because I know for sure I would have definitely had trouble converting the armor. So very cool. Alright, so now we are going to talk about Argenteus. So here is Argenteus with his helmet off, so you can see his head there. He's holding his helmet, and I tried to recreate this picture on the top right here, which I think he looks pretty cool holding his helmet. And it kind of gives the helmet a unique, purposeful use as opposed to just sitting on the ground like this. But don't get me wrong, that looks cool too, but I think it looks cooler with him holding on to it. So let me get Argenteus off of his stand here so I can get him in a better view for you guys. So, as you can see, he's got that same metallic finish to him, which really makes his armor stand out. And he's also got some cool dull blue armor throughout, like on his shoulder armor here. You can get in a better view. On his legs here, on the side as well. And he's also got some black, as you can clearly see too, on his torso, legs, feet, neck, hands, and where the joints meet up as well. And additionally, you got these really cool orange and yellow areas here as well to emphasize the armor a little bit, and on the swords as well. So, very cool. And I'll let you guys get a better look at him throughout because he is a very cool, detailed figure. Get him in a good position here. Very cool. There's his backside, and I'll take this off for you so you can see his back easier. And I want to show you as well, let me see, this has like a little like semicircle pattern that faces that way, so let me get that on there. This can be turned 360 around, so you can have the weapons kind of standing behind them like that, which I think is cool, or you can have it on the sides if you want, or like that as well, diagonally. That actually looks cool too, not gonna lie. The up or down way I think looks cooler in my opinion, but whatever works for you. So yeah, very cool. And the amount of articulation on him is really cool too, which I will get into detail later on. So let me go ahead and put him back on a stand here so I can talk about the amount of hands he has. So he's got 8 different interchangeable hands, and there's a pair that balls into a fist like these. There we go, the camera's getting it. So this is the pair that balls into a fist. His hands spread out, or fingers spread out. One of them was used to hold the helmet, as you already saw. So, very cool. A pair in a pointing position. So, cool. So, there's 2 of them, so you can put them on either hand if you want, either arm. Sorry if I didn't get it. There you go. And finally, a gripping positions to where you can put weapons inside of. And I will try to get this. So let me do that real quick. Oh, with the swords, these cool blade looking swords, these actually come apart, by the way. The orange and yellow, let me get a good focus on them. The orange and yellow really make these weapons stand out amongst the silver finish of Argenteus. So let me see if I can, there we go. Very cool, and silver as well, very metallic-y. And, as you already saw, if you wanted to know a little bonus, in case you haven't already, these blades slide into the little holes right there, and they form, voila, a double-bladed weapon. And let me see if I can get this weapon on his hands because it looks really cool. I think you have to, I would probably recommend heating up his hand a little bit for a few seconds to do it, so let me do that real quick. Alright, I got him to hold on to the weapon. So, isn't this thing cool or what? It's like a double sword, and you know what that means. Double sword, double damage. So, very cool. I love how it looks with him holding it. That is very neat. And as you can see, I put on one of those fisted ball hands there to give some diversity of the hand usages as much as I can. So, that is very cool. Actually, it looks pretty cool, that kind of position there. Very neat. He's ready for battle. So that is very cool. Let me get him on a stand so I can show you the helmet next. So here's his helmet in better detail. Right here. Very detailed, very menacing looking. Perfect for combat, I would say. And I also love these 2 armor pieces sticking out here in the glowing eyes of the helmet. And yes, again, the detail is very beautiful. Let me see if I can... Almost looks like it almost reminds me of an owl or like a bug, because these 2 kind of remind me of antennas a little bit, but very neat. I don't know why the camera's not cooperating. See if that helps. There you go. That looks better. So that is very cool. Now the helmet doesn't go on top of his head. You'll have to like remove his head and replace it with the helmet so it doesn't just like slide on or anything. See, that won't work. So you would have to take his head off to replace it with this if you want to put the helmet on. But I'd recommend doing a hot water, blow dry, all that to do that. So it's really simple to do. So yeah. So he's got 19 points of articulation total. So you can get some pretty cool poses with this guy. It's pretty remarkable actually. So I try to get a few here. So you got motion on his head. It's got some lefts and rights. I don't know if it's, oh yeah, it does just a little bit. Ups and downs. Very cool on his head. And his arms here. So these pieces are like rubbery. So you can get his arms in a more wider position like that. So you don't have to worry about these blocking the way or anything. So that's very cool. And on his other arm here. Very neat. Ups and downs. 360 rotation. And on his torso here, he gets some downs and ups, which is very cool. And you got side to sides as well. On his legs, I don't know if they're 360. I think they are. I don't want to. Oh, okay, they are. They are. And on his other leg too. Let me. You know, that's fine. Come on. Let go. Thank you. On his other leg too. And these actually have a double joint there, so you can get him in like a butt kick position, or just like in this kind of position. Why would you do this to me? Oh goodness. So yeah, you got some pretty good mobility around him, so that's very cool. You can get him into an action pose, a sitting pose for when he's riding the Dragonslayer unit, or Apollo. So really, the only limit is your imagination with what you can do with these action figures, which is really cool. And one more thing I want to show you with these guys. I literally just now learned this. If you look on the card here, how the swords are on his arm there, they go this little slot right here where this piece goes. It goes in, is that the right? Yeah, that's the right way. Just like that. And on the other one too. Let me get it out real quick. And this doesn't serve a purpose. Whoop. In this transformation. And I think this is really cool too. So, and also with his swords in this placement, you can change his hands as well. So you don't have to worry about having him gripping his hands for the swords or anything. You can have him in the pointing hands or these hands right here. Very cool. So yeah, this looks pretty awesome. You can get him like a slashing pose, like. So yeah, I thought that was a really cool feature that I just now learned. And like I said, I learn new things with these figures, and I think it's really cool that it's the little things that you notice. So the lastly I'll show you is his base here. Let me see if I can get him in a standing pose here. If not, I'll just have him sit. Or I'll do one of these for funsies. There we go. I love it. So here's his base. It looks super cool. You got the Cyberzoic logo, if you can see it. Sort of. Yeah, you can kind of see it with the lighting there. So you got the Cyberzoic logo in the middle there. On the back it just says Creative B Studio, when it was made, yada yada. And like the ridges and all that. It looks really cool. It almost looks like a puzzle piece. So you can maybe like connect the bases of other figures, other action figures on it, so you can create like a line. I wonder if you can actually do that. I think you can. That'd be pretty cool. So yeah, and as you can see here, there are 2 pegs as opposed to 1, as you probably would notice on like smaller figures where there's only 1 peg. So now if you look at Argenteus's feet here, there are holes in them. So the left one only has 1 hole on the bottom, and the right one has 2. So I think the left one is meant for this one right here, and the one right here on his right foot goes right here on his pretty much like that. At least that's how I do it. I'm sure there's other ways. And I'm not sure, yeah, again, like I'm not sure why there's 2 as opposed to 1 or 2 or 2 on both or 1 on both. Maybe that's just to give more options on how you want to display him onto the stand. And I'm sure he can stand by himself without the stand. I just haven't really been having any luck with that. I'm sure there is a way. Haven't been down. There we go. That actually looks pretty good. So you probably just have to get him in a proper angle like this to do so, but up to you. Personally, I like the stand, but if you want to make it look more realistic, then you can have him stand by himself. So very cool. So that wraps up pretty much all the components to the set. The Argenteus here, the Dragonslayer, and Apollo. So now I will show you everything all converted. So before I show you Apollo in all his glory, I will show you the artwork I did of him. Now, I normally show the artwork before reviewing the figures, but since this art piece is of Apollo with a converted armor on him, I didn't want to spoil anything too early in the video. So, here it is. Get a good angle for you. There we go. So this was actually my first art piece from Cyberzoic for review, Kurokami the Arctic Dragon being the third. So as you can see, it's pretty generic, not much texture, not a lot of blending and stuff, but there's still some detail of the dinosaur at least, and on the armor too. It mostly serves to show off the armor on the Allosaurus, which is very cool. Now obviously this is my first drawing of Apollo and his armor unit, and I say first because I have already created a much bigger art piece of this guy in color, similar to what I did with Kurokami, which you can check out in my Deviantart, and I will post a link to it in the description if you want to check that out. And again, as you can see, I added my little Among Us guy that I did for funsies, but also in place of the rider, or Argenteus in this case, just to show you how they will look when riding these creatures. So yeah, very cool. And I love how it turned out. Now, it does look a bit compact, but that's just because the size of the paper, at least the length of it wasn't as long as I wanted it to be, so I kind of just condensed it into that and as much space as I could use. So I think I did a pretty good job for my first time. It looks very cool. So yeah, now we got that settled, let's go ahead and review this guy. So here he is. Isn't he cool or what? So we have Apollo here in the converted armor, the blasters and the blast effects, and we have Argenteus running him on the top as well. All the good stuff. So this is definitely a very complex transformation from the Dragonslayer to the armor unit here. I believe it's the most complex of Wave A, and you'll understand why when I do my next couple Cyberzoic reviews. So let's check him out. So I'm going to keep him on the stand, but I'll move him around like to face the other side or whatever. But I'm doing that just for the sake of my sanity, and I think it'll be easier to show everything to you guys that way. So yeah, let's go ahead and check him out. So I'll face him this way to show you. So you got this really cool helmet with some translucent parts, as you can see on his little horn piece here, the visors, and these three little guys up here as well. So these wing-like projections here down here are posable, like that, and on the other side as well, sticking out. Very cool. Now the top ones up here are not posable, but it was surprising enough knowing that these bottom ones moved. So the helmet does come in two pieces, as you probably noticed from when we reviewed the Dragonslayer unit, but it's pretty easy to put on once you get the hang of it. It took me a few tries to get it right actually, so yeah. Alright, so going down the neck, you have this piece right here that's connected to a ball joint, that little black piece right there, which allows for mobility of the neck and head, so Apollo can move up and down, his head up and down when wearing the armor. So just move up like that. Let me see if I can demonstrate that without breaking the helmet. So the ups and downs are a little harder because there's a belt on his neck here, which I'll talk about here in a few minutes, but the lefts and rights are pretty easy. You got lefts there, rights, oh, work. Here we go. So yeah, they're pretty easy to do once you get the hang of it, so yeah, very cool. Over here, and I'm going to remove Argenteus real quickly for this part, if I can. There we go. So, you got these really cool missiles that can be moved up and down, as well as these little handles here that Argenteus can grab onto, if the camera can get them. Yeah, those two little handles right there. Very cool. And additionally, you got this cool looking translucent piece here too, right there, and there's a little bit of translucentness right there as well. Let's see if you can see it better on the other side there. Yeah, like right there. So very cool. And I guess it could serve as like a little finishing touch to that particular section, which is pretty cool. So right here, this is the seat that Argenteus sits on, and he just sits on like this. Just sits on like that. And of course you can get him into different poses sitting down, but I think this is just like the default, but you could play around with however you want to sit him down, if you want to have him like lean back or lean forward, however you want to do it. So yeah. So up top, I'm going to remove him again, I'm sorry buddy. Up top you got these cool blasters with the large translucent blast effects, which can be moved around with ease once you get the hang of it. So they don't have a 360-degree motion, and I'm going to show you why. So this part right here kind of blocks these two from going like back. So let me kind of show you that real quick. Yeah, see how it's like, it doesn't go all the way back? So it's not really fully 360, I guess it's like 270 degrees or whatever's after 180, so still very cool. So you can still get them in like forwards or sideways, like far out like that, like I showed earlier, kind of like that, so you can get them shooting further away, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I really like that feature on this armor, especially because they're so huge and they're so easy to spot, and it's like one of those like details that like kind of catches your eye at first because they're so big. It's really cool, especially compared to these little guys right here. So, very cool. Below, you got these pretty cool jet blasters with the effects as well. And I love how they have a different look compared to the other blasters, especially the smaller ones, to show you in comparison. Let's see if I can get a good view of it for you to show you. They're like more bulky looking. They don't have as much like coloration. They're mostly like orangey red, as opposed to these little ones, which are more of a, they have like a purple hue to them at the very end, which is pretty cool. So I can show you there. Pinkish purple, which is pretty cool. Underneath, you have this piece here, this little piece right here that can be moved around as well. And if I actually move this guy back to show you, you can pretty much clearly see that this section right here, all this section, is just a hover tank facing backwards. So when you convert the armor, only some pieces like the helmet piece, the neck piece here, the little shin guards here, and the tail piece will no longer be connected to the hover tank. And that just goes to show that the transformation is pretty simple, but it is complex. So, in the middle here, and I think I can put Argenteus back on. Actually, no. He's just gonna stay down here. He's just gonna lay down and just watch this happen. He can be my first witness. So, you got these cool blasters here, which can actually be removed. And what's even cooler is that you can change their placements if you want, which you probably already saw in the instructions. So you can have like the smaller ones at the bottom, you can have the large ones at the top. You can even change the missiles out and put them here as well. You can take the jet blasters out and put those like on the bottom here if you want. You can have them here if you want. You can even put these guys in one of those places too, like here. Or you could put him here, but you probably just have to move his head, so it'll be easy to show that. So it's like, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with these weapons. I get creativity with that kind of in there. Now, I don't think any of them can fit in these holes where the seat is. I think that's more for these handles for when you convert the Dragonslayer armor to its original form. That's where the handles would go, as you already saw when we reviewed it. So that's pretty awesome. I love how that's a feature. Gives you some, like I said, gives you some creativity there, which is pretty cool. Let me just slide these guys back on. Like so. So while the blasters themselves, these guys, they're fully black, you can still see that beautiful texture, and I will show you that right now. You can still see that texture on them. You see that? Very cool. And up here as well, if the lighting will cooperate. So you got these like little ridges here and here as well. I really love the detail on these armors. It's pretty cool. Yeah, very neat. And actually, in my color drawing, I actually added some different shades of grays to kind of show off that texture, so you can see that in there too, which is pretty cool. So I didn't make them just black for the sake of laziness. Now, I'm not saying that this is lazy. This is not lazy. It's actually pretty cool. So, although if I even thought about it, I could maybe, and I'm sure some people might have already done this, but maybe add a little bit of some grays around so you can better see it. But it still looks pretty cool in my opinion. I actually love it a lot. So down here, the shin guards here, again, hair dryer. These are actually pretty tricky to put on, so just make sure you heat them up so you don't break them, because there were a few times where I could have potentially, but luckily didn't. But please hair dryer, because they will probably break if you don't. And additionally, make sure you have them on the right side. So you want this like gray piece right here to like curl like outwards into the leg of the Allosaurus. Same thing on the other side here, just like inwards like that. I believe I have it on right, yeah. So they have like a little translucent piece stick here, sticking out, projecting out, and of course the gray section here, the rigid section that helps to keep the armor stay intact onto Apollo, which is very cool. Again, with the shimmery look, and there's also a little piece right there too that's translucent as well. all the little things that you see, all the little details around there just makes it cooler. Just very neat. And the shin guards, I actually like the shin guards a lot too, because they add a very nice touch to this section of the dinosaur where there's not as much armor on it. So that's pretty cool, especially in this lower section. There's actually nothing on the arms, so I think it's pretty cool that that's a feature there too. Moving on to this back side here, you got the front view of the Dragonslayer. Very cool. Again, with that beautiful hexagon pattern to it. And if you look closely, you can see like a little piece in there in the middle. If you can recall from when we reviewed the Dragonslayer a few minutes ago, that was the attachment point for these two guys. So it's pretty convenient how you could just like tuck it back in there so you don't have to worry about losing it. And in addition, you can't see obviously because it's inside, but the foot pegs are in there as well. So very cool. And lastly, on the tail, you have this very cool piece that's pretty easy to take off actually. I can show you once I get it back on here. Pretty easy to take off. These pieces here that stick out can be moved around 360 as well, so you can position them any way you like. So that's very cool. And the other side too, so you can have them like facing outwards like that, or again have them like that way if you want, but I think this is the correct way. This is the correct way to have them. And this is actually the bottom part of the Dragonslayer, like this is like the bottom part of it, as you can see from the three little ridges. So very cool. Actually I think it's this way. I don't know. It's this way. So the last thing I want to talk about is the belt on the neck and the torso of the Allosaurus. So the neck piece here, if I can show you clearly, I'll get that later. So this neck piece, a matter of fact, is actually optional to have on, and I left it on for the sake of the review, but if you want more range of motion on the head and neck, you can take it off. But it is helpful to keep the armor there in place for the sake of like displaying and stuff, but up to you. However, this torso piece where these four I should say, blasters are on, it is actually essential to keep the armor intact, to move it around and stuff. So you can't really see, but up here, the torso piece has little holes built into it that the armors attach into, and the armors have like a little projection inside of them that they attach to as well. So it is very essential to keep the armor there. So this piece is a must-have if you want to keep the armor in place. So if you want to like turn them upside down, nothing will fall. Well, that did, but armor-wise, nothing fell off. But if you don't have that torso piece there, you're gonna hear a loud crash. So, with all of that, that is pretty much all of the components of Apollo in his converted armor. So, I will go ahead and show you some photos I took of this set. Alrighty, so there you have it, the Allosaurus Gibboninsi, or Apollo, the hover tank, aka the Dragonslayer, and Argenteus. A very cool set. You can actually buy all three of these as a set, but it is pricey, going for around $218, not including shipping, as that'll vary depending on what country you live in. But if you did get these guys on pre-order or during the Kickstarter, then congrats! You just saved yourself over $40, or probably even more, because I think it was $175 for pre-order, and probably even cheaper on Kickstarter, $155, I think. So I guess on pre-order for figures in the future. And if you want to get this set, it's available on the Creative Beast website for that amount. or even take advantage of a low price, I recommend checking out the Wave B sets. The Beasts have already arrived and they're with me right now. So their price, the Beasts for Wave B, are on their final price. But if you go on to BackerKit and check out their store on there, which can be accessed through the Creative Beast Studio website, you can buy the Wave B sets on there for pre-order price, and even of Wave C. But eventually these sets will be available on the official website, still on the pre-order price, so look out for updates because they will most likely change arrival dates. I think Wave C has been pushed to March or April or something, but obviously that'll probably change too, but who knows. So yeah, look out for updates on that. So anyway, with this, very satisfied with the set, and I highly recommend it. It is a very cool set. And plus, Argenteus plays a pretty significant role in the Cyberzoic universe, so get him along with his companion Apollo for your collection. And to add on there, the first issue of a Cyberzoic comic, and if you didn't know, they were making a comic. It's now live, and I'll post a link to it in the description for you to read. I enjoyed reading it a lot, and it gives you a lot of lore to the Cyberzoic universe. And I don't want to give you any spoilers, so go check it out. It is a digital comic, but I'm sure they will post a physical one in the future. So until then, it's digital, and I'll post a link to it in the description for you to check it out. So yeah, anyway, there you have it. See ya.